Hey everybody, it's Stacie Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource, and I'm coming to you today from my home office during hashtag stay at home, or quarantine, or whatever you want to call it. And yes, I have my mask, and it is Pikachu with Pokeballs because I have a lot of craft stuff that I hoard, and now I have justification for actually keeping for all this time because I've been making fabric masks and providing those. So anyway, I am going to do a COVID market update. I think y'all know by now I'm not a huge market update video fan. I think I've got one other market update video on my channel at this point. And so I usually don't like to do them because the information is very dated. A lot of it's very speculative. And so I usually like to have a little bit more data before, making long-term content. So, however, I've been getting the question a lot, and anyway, I want to make it available for those that are interested in it. So, for anyone that's been looking to buy or sell a property, I've been getting a lot of these questions and a lot of concerns and a lot of, hey, no one knows what's going to happen. And I'm like, I don't have a crystal ball either. But I can let you know what I've been seeing and what some of the recommendations and the articles have been saying and that kind of stuff. So, I'm going to look down because I have my notes. I'm trying to stay on track because y'all know me. I like to ramble, and I've been stuck inside, and I'm an extrovert. So I'm probably going to word vomit all over this video, and sorry is what it is. But anyway, so as far as data that's available, and this is why a lot of times I don't like doing these types of things, because a lot of, the videos that are put out there right away are just, we can only be general because we don't have a lot of data because of the timing that the process takes. So the purchase process usually takes 3 to 5 or 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where you're at in the process when you start. So if you're going to sell your property, it usually takes a week or two to kind of get things together and get it cleaned up and get your honey-do list done and your handyman work done, photos, marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then you hit the market, and then once you get a buyer, it takes 3 to 5 weeks to close. For the buyers, same type of thing. They're looking at open houses. They're thinking about, hey, our lease is up in a couple months. So everyone is in that 3 to 8 weeks out period. Because of that, and because of the changes and how they've happened in this time frame, we don't have a lot of data on prices and how the prices, like the sale prices of the properties, have been affected. So what we do have data on is showing traffic. So number of buyers out in the market looking at properties, the number of properties available or inventory, as well as some loan changes that have gone on in the process that are not data-based but are economic situation-based. So I'm going to speak to those. But essentially, we were doing okay up until about a week and a half ago, and then our rules are clarified as far as what service, so real estate is essential here in Colorado, and it's considered critical work. However, not all of our tasks are. So with the clarification of what portion of our services are considered essential and what activities we are and are not allowed to do, that has really changed the market activity in the last, I'd say, week and a half to 2 weeks. Between that change, the rules change, and the mortgage industry changes recently, those two things have really affected stuff, I'd say, in the last 10 to 14 days. And so that's where I've seen the major changes. Up until then, sellers were still selling, buyers were still buying, everyone was being careful. We're not doing open houses. We're not doing overlapping showings, which for most people, it was kind of just, hey, we're still doing business, not business as usual by any means, but just cautious and, important only. So like open houses, we're not having neighbors come over just to walk around a house if they're not going to buy it. Those types of things. So cutting down on, risky activities that aren't essential. But so the change in showing traffic was about 25 to 30-ish%, low 30%, depending on the data set and the time frame you're looking at, up until that point. And essentially what I'm considering is just taking the looky-loos out, right? So the people that aren't, maybe they're in the homework phase, or maybe they're, the open house traffic, and that's a different data set actually, but or the people that are, well, I would buy something if I know the right house is out there, or if I can afford what I want, maybe I would actually go through the work I need to do to buy it, which is getting a pre-approval or getting their house ready that they currently live in to sell, or something like that. It looks like that decrease in showing traffic took those people out of the market. or most of them. So the people that were still looking are your serious buyers. It's the, hey, I've sold my house. I'm going to be homeless in 2 or 3 weeks. I've got to have somewhere to live. Or I'm relocating for a corporate job transfer or something like that, which there's not a lot of going on right now, but those types of immediate purchase need situations. Those were still going on. So traffic was still, we were still having showings. Properties were going under market. Days on market wasn't significantly extended by any means. Prices, as I mentioned, because it's so delayed, we don't know the price effect. But we weren't seeing a significant number of price reductions or anything in the listed properties. We weren't seeing a change in the closed prices for anything listed 4 to 6 weeks prior. But ever since then, the rules changed and our showing rules have changed. And that's where things have really, between that and the mortgage situation, that's been the major change I've seen in, like I mentioned, the last 10 to 14 days. So up until then, we were doing pretty good. Since then, the definition of showing is where our rules have changed, long story short. So because of that, showing traffic is significantly down. We're having to find other ways to show property, whether it's virtually, whether it's via Zoom or FaceTime or video chat. I've always done, or not always, but the last 2 or 3 years, I think, since I've been able to find it, 3D tours on my properties. So Matterport tours, iGuide tours, those are just brand names, but some sort of 3D tour on properties. I've been doing those on my listings for years. I think they're a huge marketing advantage, floor plans, things like that, so people can really get a feel for the house without physically seeing it. I've always done that for relocation buyers and for other buyers that are not able to physically get to the property as much. And here's where that's really come in to be a huge advantage for me on my particular listings, because this is, I'm doing those anyway. That's not a change of business for me as far as how I market the property. However, so those things, how we're doing business has changed for a lot of agents. They're, getting on board with those and starting to use those as a tool, since those are some of the few options that they have to, show their property at the moment. But with that, showing traffic is significantly down, and a lot of inventory has been withdrawn. So essentially sellers are saying, I don't feel good about this. Like, I'm not getting any traffic. I don't like these video showings. I think the buyers aren't going to know what they're buying until they get into the house after we're under contract. They're not going to like it. There's a lot of uncertainty. And a lot of times the sellers think it's not worth the hassle. So they're just pulling their house off the market and withdrawing it. Essentially saying, hey, I probably am still going to sell, just not right now. Still having an agreement with their agent to help them sell the property and all those types of things. So those are 2 data sets that we've definitely seen is significant reduction in traffic and significant reduction in inventory, which is choices, less houses to buy and less people looking at them. So there are still sellers that have to sell and buyers that have to buy, and there are still things going on. Honestly, kind of more than we expected to be going on at the moment. So I guess that's good news. As far as looking down at my notes, as far as the prices, as I mentioned, don't have a lot of data on that yet. We just haven't gone through enough. There hasn't been enough time passed to transact through the process enough to have a respectable data set on the effect of prices because of this. I'm guessing, I'm going to make the assumption or the estimate. I'm going to say estimate. Like I said, I don't like being very speculative. I'm an engineer. I like my data sets. But I'm going to estimate that there's probably going to be a hit in the sold prices of properties that have gone under contract in this 2, 3, 4 week window of April. I will say, early to mid to late April, kind of that 3 week time frame. Because those seem to be the sellers that have to sell from a motivation perspective and the buyers that have to buy. So there's not a lot of give on either side. It's not like, oh my God, it's a great time to go out and get a deal because nobody can sell their house. Not really. There's a decrease in buyers, but there's a decrease in sellers. So I would say the demand situation has significantly changed the supply and demand equation. But I think, the data set's going to show a dip in the prices for this temporary economic impact. The other major change that has taken a lot of buyers out of the market is loan impact. So there's been some significant impact in the mortgage industry. It's kind of gone under the radar. You've probably seen it on CNBC and some other things. Okay, sorry, I got a call. Had to turn off the computer and now the phone's shaky and all this great stuff. So as far as there's been some major impact in the mortgage industry recently. And so there's been some media about it, not as much as some other things. But essentially what it's done is, if you're looking at buyers buyers on a spectrum, on a bell curve, so to speak. So you've got your middle of the road buyers, your 10-20% down, conventional, good credit score, stable job. Not a whole lot has changed for those buyers and the investors and the lenders lending for that. There's been some minor changes as far as process. They're not locking rates as early in the process because they can't take the risk, or they're charging to lock the rate, or they are now verifying employment significantly closer to closing. Before they'd call your HR department maybe 3, 4, 5 days before closing. Now they're doing it like a day or two before, just to make sure you're still employed, given the unemployment situation right now. So that's been going on, but most of the middle of the road buyers, not a whole lot of changes. They're not earth shattering. It's everyone else on the lower ends of the bell curve. So when we're looking at riskiness of buyers, from the mortgage or the investor perspective, that's where they're kind of tightening in the reins a little bit, because of everything going on in the mortgage industry. So, they've raised the credit score requirements for some of the lower end credit score programs. Some of the grant and down payment assistance programs are either not as available or not as easy to get. And not all of that is because of the risk situation. A lot of that is because of just the industry and processing time and additional things that are taking place. And where I've seen the big impact is over here on the jumbo side. So when you're talking higher end home prices, $750,000, $800,000 plus, usually they have a significant loan amount that is going to be above that conventional loan limit. Here in the Denver metro, or in Denver County, I looked that up the other day, it was $575,000. So for any loan amount, not the purchase price, but loan amount over $575,000 for that particular county, and they're all pretty close here in the Denver metro, that puts you out of what's considered a conventional conforming loan and puts you into a not a non-conventional, but still possibly conforming, depending on how you structure it. Long story short, we're having to find some workarounds for the higher end homes and for the higher end buyers, because the investors are not willing to take the risk, the large dollar amount risk, for the small profit margin on it. So that's where we're having to find a different way. There are still a couple of lenders doing some jumbo loans, but as a general rule, they're much, much harder to find an investor willing to purchase. And they are, so a couple ways around that. Talk to your lender to get some answers on this if you're in that area, or anywhere, really, if you're buying right now. Have really, really, really good conversations and great communication with your lender. So guys, don't use a lender that's like an online application, easy, you don't have to talk to anyone on the phone. That's where it's really going to hurt you right now. Have a good relationship with your lender. Be able to call them, talk to them over the phone, or text them, or however you like to communicate. But email and online applications are not, I wouldn't recommend it right now unless you are very much in that middle of the road conventional situation. Because you're going to need to find some other options, especially if you're in jumbo loan territory. So if you're in the Denver metro and you need help with that, let me know. Reach out to me. I have some great lender contacts that have some great options. I do still have one that's doing some 10% down jumbo stuff, but a lot of my others aren't, and we've found some great workarounds. So essentially, a lot of the buyers are having to find a different way to finance the property that they were going to purchase, and it's going to cost them more money. So nationwide high balance is an option. Doing a conventional conforming first with a HELOC second is an option. There's a lot of different ways to structure the loan, and that's where a really good lender can save you money and still help you buy a house right now, when a lot of other lenders aren't able to. If they can't provide that service, they can't help you. So anyway, long video, a lot of information, but what it shakes down to is, between the recent mortgage industry changes as far as availability of certain loan types and less investor interest, between that and the change in our showing rules here in Colorado, or the clarification, I'll say that, that has really put in a temporary economic impact on our housing market. Up until then, we were doing pretty good. So what it boils down to is, if you're thinking about buying or selling here in the Denver metro and you're finding this information helpful, contact your realtor that you know, love, and trust. If you don't have one, call me. I'd be happy to be that person for you. This is what I do for a living. I want people to be educated. I want them to understand their options, and I want you to make the best choice for you with the right information. So If you'd like to reach out to me directly, please feel free to do so. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, smoke signal, Instagram DM, whatever. Call, text, or email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. Contact information is on my website. Link for that is down below. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, if you need some more information, reach out to me. Reach out to your local trusted realtor. Reach out to your favorite lender. They're going to have some good information for you. So there's a lot going on. Doesn't mean you can't sell. Doesn't mean you can't buy. But I have a feeling when everything kind of shakes out, I think it's going to get real busy real fast because everyone's been sitting tight in this house, you know, in their shelter in place that they didn't like to begin with, and they wanted to go buy something else, and now they've just been reminded for the last 4, 5, 6+ weeks why they don't like it anymore and they want out. So I think I'm hoping we'll bounce back pretty quick. We'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, thanks so much for the time. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them down below. Reach out to me if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and have a great day.